Welcome to Better Daily Life, where we are moving forward 1% better every single day. Download the app and supercharge your journey at betterdaily.life. Now it's time to ditch facts and get facts with your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Friday. It is Flex Friday, and on Flex Friday, we work through something from an exercise perspective to help you on your 1% better journey. And we have, over the past 4 weeks, gone through the phases of training. We've talked about the foundations phase, we've talked about the endurance phase, we've talked about the hypertrophy phase, and we've talked about the athleticism phase. And today's Flex Friday is about braces. Somebody in our Better Daily community, Kat, thanks for asking, good question, asked about braces. She was asking, hey, should I wear a compression brace or should I wear a compression sleeve during my walking? What about a trochanter belt? What are your thoughts on these supportive wearables? And so I'm sharing with you my thoughts from 16 years of training, working with clients. Also, as somebody who's wrestled with Ehlers-Danlos, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on that sort of thing, braces, compression, and how they fit in. So this requires a little bit of science and a little bit of practicality. So bear with me, because I've explained this a number of times to different clients, but I've never put out a here's my official stance on braces and compression socks and that sort of thing. So I've got one for you right here. This is just this is a knee sleeve. That's what it's used for. You could probably use it for a number of things, but it's a knee sleeve. You can pull this all the way over your knee, and it adds a little bit of structure and support and stability. Also will hold your patella in one place if you have a patella that likes to move around. The patella is your kneecap. Some people's patellas are a little tighter than others, and some people's are really loose and they wiggle around a lot. And I've actually worked with clients who have a patella that tracks wrong. That means instead of going down straight between the femur and the tibia, like it's supposed to, instead of hanging out in that patellar track, it actually jumps the track and goes to the left or to the right, and it's so painful, it's not good at all. And so a knee sleeve can be really helpful for them moving. But now the question is, do you wear this during the day? Do you wear this while you work out? Is it better while you sleep? Like, when should you wear something like this? Because this is a lot like a compression sleeve. This is a miniature compression sleeve. Some compression sleeves go from the ankles to the knee. Some will go from the knee all the way to the hip. They've got compression sleeve for the arms, right? I think you can even wear something around your torso or midsection. I actually have an ACE brace that I can wear like that for my lumbar and thoracic spine. And then I also have something like this, which is a weight belt. And so all of these have different categories of use. And the question is, should you use them? Why would you use them? How should you use them? And so it's a very complicated question, right? That's why when we do personal training, there's personal in training, because for some people, a knee sleeve during a workout makes a lot of sense, given their exercise history, given their injury history, given their proclivity toward certain movement pattern problems. And then for some people, a knee sleeve during a workout is very harmful and not good for their training protocol. And I'll explain that in just a second. So what I hope to get across here is I'm going to say some things to give you an understanding of why wearing these things could be helpful at different times and why sometimes you should not wear them. That said, this might not be a hard and fast rule for you. So if you have a specific question about a specific instance in your exercise history and your training about a compression sleeve or a trochanter belt or a weight belt or a squatting belt or a brace or something like that, please ask me. Please find me in the Better Daily community and ask. Please message me. Please comment. But throw a post down and tag me, and I will be happy to answer that. I'm going to answer that very specifically for the woman who asked this question. But let's give some general thoughts first. I know this is kind of long and drawing, but it's important. So a compression sleeve and braces and those looser fitting general pressure wearables. Okay, I'm not talking about like a splint. I've got a splint down here. This is a wrist splint. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about compression wearables, okay? Like your knee braces, your ankle braces, your compression sleeves. What these do is they add an extra layer of stiffness to soft tissue. It's basically what they do. They add an extra layer of stiffness to soft tissue. This is a knee sleeve, but I can put it on my arm, right? So let's say I have this on my arm. When I go to bend my elbow, because there's stiffness here, it keeps the elbow from bending so easily and so quickly, right? And actually for that reason, they've shown that when athletes wear compression sleeves, like if a quarterback's throwing a football or a tennis player is wearing a compression sleeve and doing a serve, it actually enhances their performance. Why? The stiffness makes things more elastic and quick, right? So my muscles, my tendons, and my ligaments can create some force. But when I add an external pressure, almost like it works kind of like a rubber band, when I add external pressure like this, I get some extra support, some extra stiffness, some extra snap, and that will improve performance. It'll make you serve a tennis ball a little faster, make you throw a football a little farther, right? If I'm squatting with these, if I've got these compression, these knee sleeves on my knees, and I do a heavy squat, my knees will be more supported. There's extra stiffness and support and stability around the joint. And so when I do the squat, I can actually do more weight. So these compression wearables have been shown to increase athletic performance a bit. Not a whole bunch. It's not a crazy amount, but it is a bit. And so there's a trend in exercise to wear these during your workouts. Now, sure, it'll increase your exercise performance, but there's an underlying problem. And the underlying problem is this. If you add stability to a joint and then you train with that stability, what happens is the joint becomes accustomed to moving with the extra support. And then when you don't wear that support, the muscles and the nerves still remember how to move with the extra support, but the extra support's not there. And so what happens is the body becomes capable of producing power and strength that are far above what the joint tendons and ligaments are capable of stabilizing. And so if you regularly train with these wearable supportive structures, if you're regularly doing that, one of the rules of thumb is you're conditioning the body to get used to that extra support. Your body's very intelligent, okay? Your nervous system is very intelligent. Your muscles are very intelligent. I hope you and your conscious connection to your body are very intelligent. But let's take a mundane example. Let's say I'm throwing my child up in the air, because that's what I've got, a 3-year-old. You heard him in the intro to the podcast. So it's so much fun. I have a 3-year-old. I throw him in the air, and we have a grand old time doing that, right? Well, if I wear a compression sleeve when I do shoulder presses, right, then my muscles and my nerves and all the connective tissue get used to the extra support on my elbow during my shoulder press, right? Well, a throw is a shoulder press. Hoo-yah! I'm throwing my child up in the air. It's like a shoulder press. My muscles and my nerves are still going to operate and function just like they were functioning in my trained shoulder press with my sleeve on. But I don't have the sleeve anymore. But I'm not wearing the sleeve while I throw my child. And so what happens is now my elbow is dealing with those forces without having been trained to deal with them. And that can cause injury, or at worst, it causes an immediate, acute, and catastrophic injury like a tear, or it can create problems over time. These are chronic injuries like fasciitis, right? So elbow tendinitis, for instance, happens, tennis elbow or climber's elbow. There's golfer's elbow, bunch of different elbow injuries, but they're all fasciitis. That's all chronic inflammation of the tendon because the tendon is not dense enough, strong enough, or recovered enough to deal with the forces on it. So all that to say, these compression sleeves can improve performance during training. Okay, so you could wear a brace while you walk, and it could improve your performance through your training. The problem is that the joint will not condition to the training forces very well. And so as a regular thing, I do not recommend it. I do not, again, everybody's a little bit different, but I do not recommend wearing this stuff when you work out. If this allows you to go above and beyond what your body's capable of without wearing it, then, well, you're going to train yourself to this stability, and that will be a problem for your everyday life. Now, there is one caveat to this, and the caveat is in injury recovery. Let's say you have not been walking and your knees suck. Sorry you have crummy knees. Okay, you have not been walking and your knees suck. In order to get into walking, you need a little support because your poor knees, they don't move quite right yet. And if you walk for very far, you're going to injure them. Then, in that case, some compression or a brace might be really helpful in getting you at least established enough that you can create a good movement pattern, that your muscles can get a little stronger, your ligaments and tendons get a little denser, that sort of thing. But the goal is to be able to do it without. And in very, very minute cases where there might be an ACL injury or something like that, then you're stuck with a brace forever. That's different. But if everything in your body's still intact, it's there, you can use this sort of thing to help you get off the ground, so to speak. But then your goal is to get further and further without it. You got to wean yourself off. And that's really the rub with this sort of wearable stuff. This is a belt for squatting. You wrap it around your midsection here and you anchor it down. I've got it set pretty tight. Yeah. And there's the clip. Boom. I'm going to try to talk through this. But what this does is it cinches up the waist. Can you see that? There it is. Cinches up the waist. It's a squatting belt or a weight belt. You've probably seen people wearing it in the gym, sometimes for very weird reasons. But what it does is it creates a couple things. One, it creates some pressure and tension around the midsection. The only structure you have between your pelvis and your ribs is your spine. That's your only structural support. And so the rest of it is your core musculature. Well, when you squat something really heavy or deadlift something really heavy, that spine could come under load, and so you wear a belt like this to help support your core, right? Well, the problem is, if you deadlift in a weight belt exclusively, your core will never get strong enough to support your spine because you'll always rely on the weight belt. Now, let's say you regularly train at a 200-pound deadlift or a 300-pound deadlift, and you've trained your core to handle that. That's great. Let's say you try to increase your deadlift, and so you wear a weight belt to protect you when you go higher, 350, 360, 412, that sort of thing. That makes sense. But if you're doing deadlifts at 185 or 200, you don't need to be wearing your weight belt. You need to be conditioning your core in order to be strong enough for your core to support you. The point is, these wearables can improve your performance. They can improve stability at those higher echelon levels of performance. But the people who are wearing their weight belts, unless there's an injury involved, like they're just trying to give their back some extra stability. I've had that before. I've worn my weight belt while taking stuff down from the attic because Krista needed some stuff down from the attic and my back was not in a good place. So I created some stability so I wouldn't get injured, right? But if you're always working out in these wearables, your body will condition to having that support. And that could be maladaptive. That could be bad for you because then what happens is your muscles, your tendons and ligaments aren't conditioned to not having them. I didn't say that very well. Here we go. So I have a friend who, when he first got into deadlifting, he always wore these hooks on his hand. They wrap around the hand here, and they come up, and there's a hook on them, and you hook them onto the barbell. And in that way, your grip strength no longer limits your deadlift weight. Now you've got like some iron hook connecting the barbell to your wrist. So now you can deadlift way more than your hands would let you deadlift. And he started to develop shoulder pain and elbow pain. And so he was talking to me. He's like, I don't know what to do about this shoulder pain and elbow pain. I said, well, show me your deadlift. So he goes to do his deadlift, and he's got these hooks on. And I was like, no, do them without that. Let me see how your hands are moving. And he goes, I can't do it without that. I was like, what do you mean you can't do it without that? He said, this is what I train with. My grip is not strong enough to hold 400 pounds. And so if I'm deadlifting 400 pounds, I have to have these hooks on it. I said, bro, are you kidding me right now? You don't know why your shoulder and your elbow are bothering you? He's like, why? What does that have to do with anything? It's just a hook. It's just to help me with the grip strength. And I said, your grip strength is a reflection of the strength of your shoulder and your elbow joint and your wrist joint and the density of those tendons and ligaments and the strength of the muscles that connect them. So when you wear something to bypass your grip strength, you are setting yourself up for an injury in your elbow and your shoulder eventually because your grip might not be strong enough, which is a signal that your elbow is not strong enough, which is a signal that your shoulder is not strong enough. So if you bypass that and you just basically tie the barbell to your hand so you don't have to grip it anymore, then deadlifting 400 pounds is eventually going to wreck your elbows and your shoulders because they're not conditioned to that. He's like, oh, that makes so much sense. And so he went back to the basics and got his grip stronger and stuff, and his elbow and his shoulder pain went away. Why? Because he conditioned his elbow and his shoulder to managing that much weight instead of skipping forward, a year and hooking it to his arms via metal hooks. And if you're using metal hooks, I'm not trying to stomp on your toes. Maybe they work for you, and that's great. What I am telling you, though, and to this specific individual's question, wearables, it's murkier space. It's murkier space than yes, you should wear them, or no, you shouldn't. Yes, they will improve your performance. Yes, they can help you rehabilitate from injury. But if you always wear them when you walk, or you always wear them when you work out, what's going to happen is you will condition your body to that so that when you're not wearing them, your body doesn't know what to do with itself, and you will get hurt, or you will eventually hurt some joints. Now, to this specific person, Kat, you have very, very loose tendons and ligaments and joints. You and I both have the same problem going on. And so a compression sleeve for you is not a good idea during the walk, but it's very, very helpful after the walk. And the reason I say that is you want to condition your tendons and ligaments to that instability of walking. And then you want to use the compression sleeve to give yourself support and to reduce the inflammation following your workout. And you asked about the trochanter belt. The trochanter belt would be really helpful if you're doing a very, very difficult walk. Let's say you're walking farther than you ever have before. Maybe you're walking up a very big hill. Maybe you're doing an abnormal trail hike or something like that. Then wearing that for a little while would be helpful to you. But I would not wear that on your normal walk. I would teach, if I were you, unless there's significant pain involved and you notice your movement patterns are getting wonky, I would not let your body rely on that to maintain good posture in performance. Again, unless you're in a fatigue situation where you're doing something more intense than usual, you're doing something out of the ordinary that could use a brace. So I hope that's helpful to you guys. I'd love to hear from you. Have you used these wearable compressions or braces or belts? What's your experience been with them? And do you have specific questions about your specific situation? If you do, I'd be happy to field them here. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on Flex Friday. This has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Until next time, it's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% better. Be you, just better, in mind, body, and spirit. Go to betterdaily.life, download our app, and check out our 5-star coaching resources. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.life today.